right, we're back here. The Tower of Nerd is what we've been told to call it. So we're here with Neo Edmund. Did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Okay. I got worried for a second.
Yeah.
I said someone else's name wrong by accident earlier, and now
Gotcha.
Brian won't let me forget about it.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Well,
So you're here with your book,
yes.
Tale of Red Riding.
Tale of Red Riding, Rise of the Alpha Huntress. It's the first book in the series of the Alpha Hunter series. The second one will be out in a few months. It's Red Riding Hood is an action-adventure tale. She's a werewolf in a town overran by werewolves. She rides a motorcycle, witches, magic motorcycles. Sort of Harry Potter, Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of thing. So, and it's been going over very well. So people have been really liking it, and Wordfire Press picked it up in November, and it's been great. So.
That's awesome. So is this you said it's the first book of a series. How many are going to be in the series?
Initially 3, but I will probably do 5. So
okay.
Originally I planned 7, but then I realized that's kind of insane.
A lot of writing.
And I was just like, I don't know if I want to commit to 7 so much as
5's a nice round number.
Sounds a little more manageable for me.
Go.
So, but yeah, the first 3 will, like the third one will end sort of in a trilogy way, so that it has an end, and then maybe I can potentially take a break and do something else for a while, and then come back to it, depending on how much people want it. So.
Very cool. So is this isn't your first book you've ever written? You've done other books before this, or is this your first one?
Well, this is my first actual novel.
Okay.
I came out of I've come out of the Hollywood side of writing. I was a story development exec in Hollywood for a few years. I bounced around into a lot of different companies. I wrote in comics quite a bit. I worked for Zenoscope. I wrote their line of kids books called Silver Dragon Books. So we did a bunch of books with Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, Jumpstart Interactive, all sorts of stuff. So I was writing kids books for a couple of years. That was fun. It was different. So I didn't really expect to do it. And when I fell into it, it ended up being pretty awesome. So, and then, I've just come out of the Hollywood side. So that means I've done a little bit of everything from acting to everything.
Yeah.
So you pretty much bounce around in Hollywood,
Yeah.
So, and then I just decided at a point to write a novel just to see how it would go, and apparently it's going very well. So, and Wordfire Press has got me contracted to do a few now, so it's awesome.
Very cool. So how long did it take you to write A Tale of Red Riding?
This first one took me, well, the first draft I wrote fairly quickly, probably 6 or 7 weeks, but then,
Wow.
And then, I spent time over the next year tweaking it out. I was working on a lot of different projects at the same time, so it's like, I'd work on something, I'd get a script gig, I'd get a script doctoring gig or something, and then I would have to come back to this and just keep bouncing back and forth. So, so really it was a process that went on over a year before it was actually ready to go out into the world, where I was finally like, I think it's ready, and it's pretty scary to put a book out in the world because you just don't know how people are going to react to it,
Yeah.
So
kind of like anything, TV, anything really.
Anything at all.
Really
So, I mean, the day.
Trust me, we know a podcast, not many people listen, and we're like, oh, people don't like this? Who knows?
Lots of people listen.
Yeah.
Millions of people
Yeah, to
listen.
us,
What are you
everyone
talking
listens.
about?
What are you talking
Everybody
about?
in the
Yeah.
entire world is
Exactly.
listening.
So, if anyone gets your book, how do they pick one up?
The easiest way, of course, is Amazon. So you can either just Google my name, Neo Edmund, or The Tale of Red Riding, Rise of the Alpha Huntress, which is much longer. But Amazon's obviously the easiest. Barnes & Noble, or here at the Tower of Nerd at ConnectiCon. But I imagine by the time people see this, we will probably be gone.
It'll be over by then, but yes, it'll work.
I'll also be at Tampa Bay Comic-Con in a couple of weeks. I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con, in that order. San Diego, Tampa, Salt Lake City, Palm Springs. I don't know.
It's like a traveling roadshow.
Yeah. This Wordfire, this is really the traveling bookstore now, and it's pretty awesome. So we get to go out and do all these shows, and it's been incredible. I mean, we have all these amazing authors. Get to hang out with Kevin J. Anderson, and just we'll sell books alongside him.
I was gonna ask that because this is like we've talked to a couple of guys now, and we're kind of like it's like a kind of like almost like a commune of writers. How does that like? It must help the process a little bit, knowing like you can just turn around and be like, hey, I'm stuck on this.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of time I'm talking story with these guys while we're, hanging out at the booth and stuff and just bouncing ideas and stuff. But I mean, really, it's just cool to have this traveling book show. Nobody's really doing it like this. I mean, it's the way comic companies have been doing it for a long time.
Exactly, yeah.
And I mean, Wordfire Press is now like doing it and successfully. So I mean, a lot of people in the industry are starting to look at Wordfire and go, "What's going on over there? What are they doing?" And it's very successful. And some of the authors are, from smaller places, and they're doing very well. Yeah. And a lot of our books are really selling as well as anywhere.
Yeah, no, it's very cool to see. It's like a a totally new concept. I totally never even thought about a bunch of authors just getting together and be like, you know what, we're just going to go do it ourselves, kind of almost, and just go from place to place as opposed to traditional. Wait for it to show up in your local bookstore or anywhere.
And
it's pretty cool.
This is the fan community, and these books are fantasy and action, adventure, and stuff. So I mean, this is where it's at, And a lot of this stuff is going to be, the movies in 5 or 10 years. I call this
hopefully,
HBO,
right? Hopefully.
Yeah, HBO pre. So we'll all be,
Read the script now before it gets on the screen.
The book. In 5 years, it'll be a movie, or 3 at the pace I'm going with this one. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just been an incredible. Team to be part of, and just hanging out with these guys and doing this. I'm really lucky to be here. So,
yeah, we appreciate you giving us the time. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
And keep an eye out for Neil Edmond and the Tale of Red Riding. So we're walking around here at ConnectiCon, walking around the lobby, talking to some of the folks, and we've come across the ever happy Wednesday Addams. How you doing today, Wednesday?
Good, I guess.
So, how long did it take you being Wednesday Addams?
Well, I just went into my closet and I picked out an outfit and I decided to come here.
It's very true. So, how's your brother doing?
He's okay.
Is he locked in your closet?
Maybe.
Pretty sure he's locked in his closet. It's kind of like an R. Kelly song. So, is this your first time here at ConnectiCon?
No, I was here last year as well.
As Wednesday Addams?
No. I was incognito. I didn't want to tell anyone.
It's probably a good thing, because there are a lot of people asking you questions about who you are and everything.
I know, it's weird.
You just need to let it go. Just let you be you.
I guess.
Well, I appreciate you stopping and giving us the time to talk to you. It's been a blast.
Yeah, it's really cool. Make sure you check out my friend's band, Emery. They're going to be here at the con, and they're really cool. You can find everything on emeryofficial.com. It's EMMARIE.
She's really excited about it, so you should check it out. It's the Being a Big Podcast. Stay tuned for more. All right, we're here with Anthony Dobransky, who's got a book coming out.
I do.
What is the name of your book, and when is it coming out?
The book is coming out this fall. It's called The Demon in Business Class. It's coming out late September to get ready for the fall con season.
All right, so tell us a bit about the book. What is it about?
It's a modern day fantasy with a corporate setting, and the idea is that it's a psychic with rage issues trying to stop the next global war, falls in love with a demon-enhanced corporate spy who's trying to start the next global war.
Ah, very interesting. So, is this your first book, or have you other books?
My first book. My brand new, yeah.
Oh. So, how long have you been writing before this? Is this like have you had
This is
other?
my second career. I've worked on this book for several years, a little interrupted by, wife and family and things, but I did what I could. And prior to that, I had a job in corporate life myself. I did international office openings for America Online back in the 90s, which is how I kind of got the corporate feel and the travel and the setting that I'm using in the book.
So, what's it like getting your first book published? Have you seen the actual cover yet? Have you seen any of that stuff
only
yet?
just saw the cover last night, so it's fantastic that you asked. I'm really excited about it. It's a gorgeous painting, and I think it really sums up what we're going for. As for the process of the editing, Wordfire had me working with a great editor named Vivian Trask, and her comments were very subtle but very big. She'd say I think we need a new chapter here, and then you have to go and do that.
Okay, that's like a month of, okay.
It is, but when she's right, she's right, and it's a better book for it. I mean, that's the great thing about an editor, is that you work hard and then somebody who actually comes and cares and helps you develop it. And Wordfire has just been a wonderful press to work with. They've been very supportive. They know what they're doing on a business sense. They know how to find their market. I'm really excited to be here.
So, being the new guy in the block, pretty much, what is it like being around all these authors? And it's like, we're talking to a couple of other guys. It's like a commune of guys, and having all these guys, it's like a traveling Wilburys almost of authors. It's so cool that you guys go from place to place. It's got to help the writing process immensely.
I think you've taken all the words out of my mouth, to be honest. It's great.
I'm just baffled by this whole thing since you started talking to everybody.
It is a very innovative business model, and I'm not surprised. I mean, Kevin was already an innovator in the writing with the expanded universe ideas for the Star Wars and that, and then to be able to know the business and take it farther and work with the fan who really want to be reading this stuff. I mean, we're the only major book vendor here at this con, and I think there's a reason for that, because we know our audience, we know what the people like, and working with these people who've done this, who have experience, who have seen the ups and downs of it, it's hugely supportive for a new author like me.
So, when did you first start writing this book? Was it something that came out of when you were working at your corporate life? Did they come out of that?
And it came out of my corporate life. I wanted to write about it, but I didn't want it to write about something fairly normal and everyday. I myself have a big fantasy background. I was a big, not only for fantasy novels, but also comics, people like Neil Gaiman. And so I wanted to just sort of bring it all that together, and it came together really splendidly. It was a lot of work, but once I pulled it out and with the support of the staff, it's turned into something really distinctive and unusual.
So is this first book going to be a standalone, or is it a part of a series?
I am not a series writer as of yet. My next one will be also a standalone, and that's going to be coming out sometime next year. We're working on that now. But that's going to be very different. That's going to be, I guess you could call it dystopian or post-apocalyptic with a little bit of a climate change element. But it'll be standalone too. That one's going to be called The Cooperative Spiders. But right now, the Demon in Business Class is where we're at this fall.
So when it comes out, where will people be able to find Demon in Business Class?
Well, they'll be able to find it in good bookstores and, of course, at wordfirepress.com. And then I think if you come to good conventions like this one, you'll probably find us selling it too, because that's how Wordfire works.
Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. We'll have to have you come on in the fall when your book comes out. We'll have to have you do another interview. We'll talk about what it's like when the book comes out.
I'd be delighted.
So look out for his new book coming out soon in the fall, and be back with more in just a bit. All right, we're back here at the Tower of Nerd with Aaron, writer of Dandelion Iron. Tell us a bit about your book, Dandelion Iron.
I'm Aaron Michael Ritchie, and this is the first book in an epic sci-fi western series. So it's a story of three sisters on a post-apocalyptic cattle drive to save their ranch. So as they're making their way across this wasteland of outlaw warlords and destruction, they come across the boy, and in my world, boys are rare. So the oldest sister doesn't want to have anything to do with the boy because boys are dangerous. The middle gunslinging sister wants to sell the boy because then they wouldn't have to do the cattle drive, and the youngest sister falls in love with him. But little do they know, an inhuman army will stop at nothing to find him. Dun, dun, dun.
Wow, that was a heck of a sell right there. That was fantastic.
It's been called Little House on the Prairie meets Mad Max.
That's a pretty good meeting.
With a little bit of like G.I. Joe thrown in there.
Wow.
I know. It's awesome.
Wow.
It's my favorite book. I've been writing my entire life. This is my fourth book. It's my first series I've ever done. And I was gonna say if I'm gonna put all of my time and effort and life energy into a series, I wanted to have everything I like.
There you go.
It has everything I like.
So that's not your first book. What were your first couple books that you wrote, and how did those come about?
So my first book, well, I've been writing my whole life. So I wrote for 20 years, but I was too afraid to submit anything.
Yeah.
And so on my 13th novel, I finally found the courage, and I submitted it, and I got it picked up by a small press. And it's called The Never Prayer, and it's about a girl who falls in love with an angel and a demon, but she can't tell the difference. So it has that kind of dark, edgy, supernatural kind of. And then I followed that up 2 years later in 2014, because they say write what you know. So I had a troubled childhood, Mark. Very troubled.
Sorry to hear that.
And so I wrote a happy little suicide book.
Oh.
So it's about a kid who quits doing drugs and becomes suicidal, but the more suicidal he gets, the more interesting his life becomes.
Huh.
And donuts are involved. I love
Why
donuts.
shouldn't they be involved?
I love donuts.
I didn't get this way by not having donuts in my life.
Like even like bad like convenience store donuts. Even
Still
donuts.
delicious.
I love
Still delicious.
I know.
Especially the chocolate ones when they're cold in the refrigerator and you dunk them in milk. I'm getting sidetracked. Anyways, so how many books are going to be in the series? Do you know?
There's going to be 6 books in the series. The second one will be out in September. I also have a prequel novella. If they go to my website, www.aaronmritchie.com, I have a prequel novella there, and I'm also inviting other authors to write short stories in my world. So, because I mean, you have so many kind of different elements. I couldn't even in a series. I was not going to be able to hit every single kind of aspect. So I have a bunch of other award-winning and best-selling authors writing stories in that world. So because ideally I would have dropped all 6 books at the same time, because we live in like a Netflix culture.
Yes.
Right? So
Netflix and chill is what the kids are saying.
But that means something very different.
It does, but they're walking around with signs saying it.
Yeah.
I saw it earlier. I was like, that's
The
creepy. You
youth.
shouldn't be just asking random people that.
The youth of our generation.
Yes. They're gonna be paying for us to live when we're old.
No,
I'm worried.
No, I'm not. It's all about the same. No, so to kind of bridge the gap, so I'll have a couple coming out every year, but to bridge the gap, I'm having the short stories going out, and it's interesting to be seeing other people's take on the world. So, and other kind of stories that it's been fun.
It sounds like a blast. So, to get the book, you can get it through your website. Where else can they find it?
You can. I'm on Barnes & Noble. I'm on Amazon, Kobo, across the internet, and of course the Tower of Nerd at Wordfire Press.
So how'd you get? Just talking, I was asking the other guys. How'd you get involved with the Tower of Nerd?
I met a guy. I met a gay, and this guy knew another
Gay.
Well, I have a short story. Quincy J. Allen he does the Penny Dreadtales anthology.
Yes.
And I had a story in the 3rd one that he picked up, and he said it was his favorite story. I can't say that. One of his favorite stories.
Yeah, you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Don't hurt anybody's feelings.
Everyone gets a participation ribbon.
Yeah, that's right. No, and so he liked it so much that it kind of plucked me from obscurity. I'd already some novels out through small presses, but it was really that story. And then I met the acquiring editor at Wordfire, and he knew about me because of the story. And so when I pitched him my post-apocalyptic cattle drive, he's like, sure. So I got on board, and they signed a
Who wouldn't
Facebook
say
deal.
sure to that idea? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I love it.
Sure, why not? Go for it.
Because it's not like anything that's out there. So it's very unique.
That's very cool. So the stuff that you did, going back to what you said earlier, with the stuff you didn't show anyone, is that stuff going to be shown to anyone, do you think? Or are you just going to keep it hidden in a locked closet?
When I'm an old man, I'll go back and I'll edit. Well, there's a lot of it was practice.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was unreadable.
Yeah.
Because it was really kind of me working on craft and kind of, so that was really eventually I would like to kind of get some of those books out. But it's hard because it's always the new shiny thing, right? It's always the bright new thing on the horizon. But to go back, but I imagine, hopefully if I had when I get more time to write, I'd like to go back and kind of edit more, because they need to be heavily edited.
Yeah. So what made you, when you were younger, think writing? Like, you said you started since you were a really young kid.
Yeah.
Was it something, like, what precipitated you to be like, this writing thing's pretty neat, I'm going to keep going and doing it?
It was really John Carter. It was really A Princess of Mars. I read in the 3rd grade, I got a copy of A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs, and I got the Michael Whelan cover where John Carter's holding Deja Thoris, and you get some side boob. And I got in trouble at elementary school. I got called into the principal's office.
Your book's got side boob. You got to go home.
That's right. This is inappropriate material for a 9-year-old. And I'm like, what? It's about a guy with swords.
Yeah.
And I read that, and I'm like, I loved it like nothing else I'd ever. And I'm like, I want to do that. I want to create these worlds. And then Robert E. Howard's Conan. I kind of followed that up. And I was like, it was really those 2 authors that kind of sparked this thing in me. And I was good at it, and I had all the ideas. In the 3rd grade, I turned around and wrote a retelling of Little Bo Peep, but she hires a bounty hunter to find her sheep, and he has like a double-barrel shotgun.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So thank you for the time.
Oh, sure.
Keep an eye out for your books coming out. It's out now. The next one's coming out.
Yeah, next one, Killdeer Wins, is coming out in September.
So there you go. So keep an eye out for those, and be back with more in just a bit.
All right, thank you so much.
Alrighty, so we're walking around ConnectiCon, and we found Jon Snow. He's alive. Spoiler alert. So, Jon Snow, tell us who you are in real life.
My name is Nicholas Speranza. I'm from East Haven, Connecticut.
Sweet. So how'd you decide to be Jon Snow? Was it just because your face and all that looks like Jon Snow?
Oh, thank you. Rob and John I'm a big Stark fan. Rob and John were actually my favorite characters.
Okay.
And I was asking popular opinions about my friends, and they said Jon Snow. And I tried it out, and everybody loved it. So I make it my main cosplay.
So how long did it take to get the whole outfit completed?
It was about 2 months.
Wow.
Some of it I ordered. The cloak I made, I'd help with it. My ex-girlfriend's grandmother helped me with that. But everything else.
Was that before she was your ex-girlfriend or after she was your ex-girlfriend?
Before.
Ah.
She was actually egret with me 2 years ago.
Oh, well, there you go. But since they broke up, you guys had to break up too.
Yep.
It's all right. We understand. So did you make the sword or
No,
did
the
you
sword
purchase?
I ordered online.
Nice.
I'm actually starting to get a little more crafty. I'm actually going to be making the new Winterfell cloak that Sansa makes for him in the show.
Yeah. You gotta get a girlfriend to make it, because then it'd be like, or a sister or someone relative to make it.
Yeah.
Then it'd be more appropriate. So, assuming you're a Game of Thrones fan,
Love it.
what did you think about the end of the season?
All I have to say is, like I told everybody else, those last 2 episodes, besides the birth of my daughter Arya, nothing was more satisfying.
He named his daughter Arya. I'm just sorry. That's so awesome. So is she gonna become like, do you call her No One?
Yes, she's going to be cosplaying next year. I'm going to be taking her first con, yep.
Oh, there you go.
We actually, for her first birthday, we actually bought her a Nymeria plushie.
Wow, look at that, fancy dancy. So we're here with Jon Snow here at ConnectiCon. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Enjoyed defending the wall and all of the North.
Winterfell, King of the North.
And we will see you back with more in just a bit. Welcome back to ConnectiCon. We're here with the guys from Owl King Publishing. There was a sign on that side. It threw me off. So we're here with Ethan, E.A. Rappaport, and Sal. I got it right. So they were telling us about their books. Tell us a bit more about your books that you guys got. Is it a fantasy type books?
It's a high fantasy series, and it's a non-traditional series in that each of the books is part of 2 separate trilogies.
That's so cool.
And in addition, you could read any of them on their own as well.
So you were saying before we started the interview that the way you got them laid out here on the table is how they kind of correlate. Do you want to explain a little bit more about how they correlate and cross?
So each book, like I said, is part of 2 trilogies. So for instance, the first book that I wrote starts off the Weapons trilogy and the Betrayal trilogy. And I've been having a lot of fun doing this. It's like a puzzle to me, and I like fitting all the pieces together. My new book, Whence Chaos Born, is going to be the end of the War trilogy and the middle of the Netherworld trilogy. It should be done in about 2 months, and I'm really excited to have that one out.
Awesome.
And I met Sal here at ConnectiCon a few years ago, and we decided to take the first book and turn it into a graphic novel.
Oh, okay, sweet.
So we've been working on this for a while, and Sal's currently working on the second issue of this graphic novel.
So what spurred you to start writing the books?
Well, I've always been a fan of science fiction and fantasy, so I've always been reading these types of stories. And when I started about 10 or 12 years ago, I was at a new job in New York, and I was on the train from Connecticut, an hour and a half each way, with nothing to do.
Been on that train before.
Exactly. So I figured, I've got some ideas, let's see what happens. And as it turns out, I love writing, so it was wonderful. I spent all my time writing on the train. Now I don't go into New York as often, so the books are slower and slower to come out. I don't write as much.
So translating it from the book form to the graphic novel form, how difficult or easy was that?
Well, there's been a lot of learning involved, I have to say.
Yeah.
About visualizing it all and all the different pieces. I mean, when I started, I thought, you have one person, he draws it, the other person does the art, does the script,
inking and all that stuff.
But I didn't realize there's the drawing, the inking, the coloring, the lettering, the sound effects, whatever. All separate, but it's been great.
So is it like for you, Sal? Is this the first thing you've ever put out with your drawing on it?
First thing I ever put out commercially.
Okay.
I mean, comic books for me started a long time ago when I was a little kid. And then I would sell comic books in high school for like 25 cents each.
Yeah.
And they were like little black and white photocopied,
Oh, that's cool.
cheap stuff.
Yeah.
And then, I pursued other fields, other avenues, and coming back to it now. I got this book, like he said, issue 2. I also have one of the other fields that I pursued was professional wrestling.
Okay.
And this was a character that I performed. And so now that I'm not performing the character anymore, I turned him into a comic book. So this will be an internet comic book that I'm going to be releasing for free in the next couple of months, hopefully in August.
That's awesome.
And then I also did a movie in New York City last year, and as part of promotion for that movie, I'm doing another comic book for that movie.
Wow, you're keeping busy.
Yeah. You know? Not easy, but doing it up.
Hey, better than sitting around doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
So, if someone's looking to get one of your guys' books, where would they go to get them?
You can go to owlking.com.
Alrighty, so check out all the books for VA Rappaport and Sal here at where they're located, and we'll be back with more in just a bit. All right, we're back here at the Tower of Nerd with R.I. Salvatore, writer of many books, of many different things. You have a new book coming out, or is out now?
It's out. It's been out for a couple of months. It's called Maestro. It's the second book in the Homecoming trilogy, continuing with Dritz and the gang.
So tell us a bit about, if someone hasn't read the first book or this book, what is it about?
At the end of the first book, the Archmage of Menzo Berenzan, Gromf Banray, did something really stupid. And he got tricked and basically broke down the barrier between the Abyss and the Underdark. So the Demon Lords run free. And Dritz has got to go down there with a couple of his friends from the other books and try to help out.
So how many books are going to be in this series of books?
3. The third one's called Hero, and it'll be out in October of this year. It's all done. It's at the printer.
Wow, it's amazing to me. We're talking to a lot of guys from the group here about how quick you guys are churning books out. It just boggles my mind that you guys are able to do it so quickly.
I usually do one a year, but I've been in such a mood lately with Dritz because after the Companions, when the gang got back together, it felt like 1988 again, and I couldn't stop writing. And I said, hey, will you guys do 2? Would you rather do 2 books a year? And they said, yeah, absolutely. I said, I can do that for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after this series is over, do you have anything in the works, you thinking?
I'm going back to Demon Wars, my world, where I did the game for the Kickstarter, but I've got a whole bunch of Demon War books out. I'm going back there, but I'm doing a new series because I had characters I just fell in love with in my head, and I had to write a book for them. So I'm doing a couple books there after this.
Okay, so not only do you do this, of course, there's a huge line over to the side of us here. Your Dungeons & Dragons stuff is very popular as well. How'd you get involved in the Dungeons & Dragons world, and how'd that all come about?
Well, I was a beginning writer, and I had written a book, and I was sending it out to all the different publishers, and one of the places I sent it was TSR. This was 1987. And the editor who picked it up, Mary Kirchhoff, really liked it, but she said, you know, we can't publish it. We have only got room in the Forgotten Realms. Would you audition for a Forgotten Realms book? And I said, what are the Forgotten Realms? They weren't out yet. And this was before the internet. And they hadn't even announced it. So they told me about the realms, and that book wouldn't work. That book called Echoes of the Fourth Magic, which was actually the first thing I ever wrote. It wouldn't work in the realms because it started in our world. But I did the audition, and I won, and I got the second book in the realms, which was Crystal Shard.
Wow.
Which came out 28 years ago.
Wow. So how did you, like, when you first started writing, what was like your impetus? What was the thing that made you think, like, I'm going to become a writer, I'm going to do this?
You know, I was a math major.
Okay.
But my freshman year, my sister gave me a copy of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. We had this massive snowstorm in New England, and I was trapped at my mother's house for a week. You couldn't get on the roads. There were no roads. And I read those books, and I remembered how much I used to love to read when I was a kid. So I went back and I took all lit courses as my electives and got a degree in communications instead of math. But I stayed with fantasy, so I read Brooks and Donaldson and Leiber and Moorcock and all the fantasy I could find, but there wasn't that much. So when I ran out of fantasy books to read, I wrote my own.
There you go.
And I was working in a plastics factory when I wrote it. And I didn't do it to be published. I just did it because I needed the creative outlet.
Need something to do.
Yeah. And then that's the book that got me the audition to get into the Forgotten Realms.
Wow, that's amazing.
It picked me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how we got into television, same kind of video and all that kind of same kind of thing. But thank you so much. Maestro is out now.
Maestro came out in March, so it's out.
People can get it where?
They can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, at the Wordfire Press booth, and I have my own store. If you want to get signed books, it's called rasalvastore.com.
Ah, very creative, very
Best
creative.
bad joke ever.
Yeah.
And we sell all the books there, and you can get them signed and even personalized. Like if you want, to Frank Merry Christmas or something, we do that as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for the time. We know you're very busy. You know you have a lot of stuff going on. Your line is getting longer as we're standing here. So I'll let you go.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you again for the time, and we'll be back with more in just a bit.
My pleasure.
All right, we've been walking around, and we saw this guy with his wings fully expanded out. His name is Alex. Alex, tell us about your wings and where did they come from?
I guess in high school I was thinking like I wanted to make something, and it was for an art assignment originally. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna make some steampunk wings.
What did your teacher think when you came in with these?
They were very impressed.
You went way too hard on the project.
A little bit,
You're
yeah.
just supposed to draw something.
Pretty much, yeah. It was a drawing class too, and it was just like, can I do something 3D?
So how long did it take to fully construct the wings?
I don't remember the exact amount. I think I worked on them off and on for like a month or two, and like, yeah, I got them done.
So it's all just pulleys and
Pulleys, a lot of wood, a lot of glue, so a shit ton of canvas, and I added like little upholstery tacks to make it look a little bit more ribbety.
Does your mom don't go on top of the garage and try to jump off or anything?
I think it's the most common asked question. People always ask me, have you tried them yet? It's like, there's a ledge right over there. You can try it out.
Yeah. If it's like 2 feet off the ground, maybe I'd try it. That's about it.
Yeah.
So, like I said, when I first saw him, I thought Assassin's Creed. You said you've never even seen that yet,
Well,
which is amazing to me.
I played the game, and I vaguely remember it, but I'm not a huge Assassin's Creed fan, so I can't remember exactly what it looked like.
It'd be perfect with the movie coming out. You'd probably have some kind of... Yeah, Assassin's Creed's having a movie coming out. Michael Fassbender is playing the assassin.
I
Yes,
didn't know that.
it's gonna be very good. I think. I hope.
I hope so too.
So, you said you were thinking of doing other types of wings. What other types of wings were you thinking of doing?
Yeah, I want to design a pair that kind of open on their own, so I don't have to worry about all these cords and pulleys. Like I've got a few designs in my head for like adding some like electronic linear actuators to make them like open up on their own, just like by a flip of the switch. But there's a ton of cosplays I could like adapt that to. One of which I want to do a Mercy cosplay from Overwatch.
A White Falcon.
Yeah, White Falcon.
That's my first thought. White Falcon.
Yeah. But yeah, it'd be awesome to make another pair.
Yeah.
Some more updated version.
So, obvious question is, you're very technical with all your stuff. What do you do for a living? Do you do something that kind of relates with this? Or?
Yeah, I'm currently a sculpture major, going to a school in Philadelphia for art. But I'd love to get into like prop design and stuff like that too.
So what brought you to ConnectiCon then, if you're going to school in Philadelphia?
I mean, I'm originally from Connecticut,
Okay.
and like, I think my first time going to a con, I brought these guys, and it was like a ton of fun because I get to feel kind of famous for a day. Yeah.
That's so cool. So, congratulations on these. They're awesome looking. You did a great job.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be back with some more here at ConnectiCon. Okay. Let's see those wings again. Initiate. Watch out. Wings opening. And we're back here at the Tower of Nerd with Kevin Anderson.
My Tower of Nerd.
Yes. So we've gone through just about everyone here at the booth, waiting, and we finally getting to the big guy who has so many books here. I would list them off, but
Yeah, that would
we'd
take
be
you
here
5
for a
minutes.
while. Yeah.
Okay.
So tell us a bit about how you got involved in book writing at the very beginning.
Well, I've wanted to be a writer since I was 5. That's what I've always wanted to be. And I started writing when I was 8 and sending stories out, but I just kept trying. I got like 80 rejection slips before I finally sold something, but then I sold the first one, and then another 5, and then I finally sold a book, and then a bunch more books, and this is what I do. I write books. I've got stories that are my characters are my imaginary friends that I play with all the time, and I do terrible things to them sometimes. But I've written my own stuff, but also Star Wars and Dune and X-Files and Batman and Superman, and it's like I get to be a professional fanboy.
So what was the very first book that you actually got published? What was the very first book that came out for you?
It was called Resurrection Inc., published in, I think, 1988, when it was all about a gothic horror science fiction murder mystery. And in fact, I'm going to duck out of range and
yes, go ahead.
Right there.
Everyone's done it, so
Resurrection
go for it.
Inc.
Yes.
So this is my very first novel, and it was inspired by a Rush album. And because of that, I got to know
cover,
some of the band members from Rush, the drummer in particular, Neil Peart, and he and I have done Clockwork Angels based on their new novel.
Oh, cool.
The new album and
I
graphic
that's what
novels
that was
and all
from,
kinds
but I
of
wasn't
stuff.
sure.
Yep. And so I've been inspired by music, I've been inspired by movies and TV and my own imagination.
So what was it like that first time when you saw your first book up on a shelf? Like I was telling other guys, because a lot of guys with the very first books are coming out now. Like we do TV, the very first time we see one of our shows on television, it still blows my mind every time.
Well, and it was. I mean, now that I have some distance, my first book cover, that was a reissue, so that's a really nice cover. But my original cover on that was like the ugliest cover you could ever imagine. It was like this skull with a rocket ship over it. It was really hideous, but I still loved it.
Very
it was
80s.
Like my name on the cover, and I thought, this is great. And seeing it in a bookstore for the first time was like really cool. And then when my first Star Wars book came out, it was just coming out, and the publisher flew me out to believe it or not, to autograph books at the National Truck Stop Owners Convention.
Man, how'd you guys get in there?
Well, the publisher set it up.
Such a hard get.
Well, but see, the thing is, the truckers would buy a lot of Star Wars books, so they would send me in to sign these things. And I remember, I had not ever seen the thing out before, so I got it, and I'm signing these books. And I'm getting to the airport in Las Vegas, and there in the airport bookstore, and it had the New York Times bestsellers set up, and my book was on that rack, and I went, wow!
Whoa.
So
wait a minute.
So it keeps getting cool stuff. So
that's crazy. So like you were saying, you worked with Star Wars, you worked with Dune, you worked with. What is that like? Like you were saying, a fanboy thing, but being a fan of it all, like when you start writing these things and then seeing them be popular and people reading them and other people then like coming to you and being like, now I'm a fanboy of you.
Right.
What's that like?
Awesome.
Simple answer.
I don't know what answer
Simple
you
answer.
want with
no,
that, right?
it's just
yeah. I mean, it's
just like one of those things.
But I would be doing the stories anyway. I mean, I'd be writing my own imaginary stories, and this lets me do exactly what I want to do. And fans seem to like it. Went all weekend long here at ConnectiCon, and last weekend we were in Miami at Florida SuperCon, and a couple of weeks we're going to be in Tampa Bay Comic-Con. We're doing 22 of these shows this year, and I'm meeting lots of fans who grew up reading my books, and I'm glad to have corrupted their youth.
And then being here with the Tower of Nerd, we talked to some of the younger authors, per se, not younger, but newer book writers. What is it like being a guy who's done a lot of books, then having these younger guys like doing new books and seeing them experience all that stuff for the first time?
It's kind of cool, and I'm a publisher on a lot of these too.
Oh, okay.
I'm Wordfire Press.
Oh, okay.
I publish a lot of their books, and
awesome.
so I'm kind of wearing like the actor who become a director sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I had some people like Terry Brooks and Dean Koontz were my mentors. They helped me out when I was younger, and so I like to pay it forward. And I'm mentoring a lot of other authors and helping them get a break and teaching them writing, and we're all sort of working together. They're the ones working my booth here, so it all comes back.
And then what's it like when you see their books get out there, and it's like almost like a proud father seeing your kids get out there and get their stuff published?
And I've got a couple of my writing students are Brandon Sanderson and Patrick Rothfuss are two of my writing students. So and they're way sell better than I am. I mean, so I think it's really cool, and I'm glad because I'm a reader too, so I want to see more books being published.
Well, thank you for the time again. To get the information about your books. Like you don't really need to know.
Well,
I know where they all are.
Where fine books are sold.
Yes.
But my publishing company is called Wordfire Press.
Okay.
And wordfirepress.com is kind of all of our catalog and our authors and everything on there.
Yeah.
So take a look there at some of our books because we're sort of a mid-sized publisher and we could use the help.
Yeah, and I've been telling a lot of the before we get done here, we're just about done. But I've been talking to the other guys. This is such a great idea. That all these guys travel together and they all like work together. It's like a commune of writers, and it's so cool to see like a big group of guys like this and just
Well, sort
everyone
of
helping each other out kind of thing.
united artist
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it's so awesome. It's so great. It's a great idea. So thank you for the time. We appreciate it. I know you're very busy. We'll let you go. So we'll be back with more in just a bit.
Thank you.
So that'll do it for us here at the Being a Big Podcast. We've gone around ConnectiCon, saw some cool people, talked to some great authors, saw a couple of cosplayers and some other people. It's been a great time. It's the Being a Big Podcast. We'll see you next year here at ConnectiCon. See you later.